The following program is produced and distributed by the Smart Talk Radio Network. Radio that inspires.
The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. Welcome. We got some great stuff tonight. I got a crazy story. This is amazing. If you want to call in and talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com, where we are currently offering the Bond Masterclass if you want to learn about bonds. And it's a lot cheaper than taking a semester at school. You can also follow me on Twitter at @DailyDirt. Happened on Twitter yesterday. I just found out about this. John McAfee, who was CEO of McAfee, the antivirus software, and he's a crazy guy. He's going to run for president as a libertarian, and he's totally out of his mind. And he was talking about me on Twitter because I've been writing about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, and he said that I've joined the Cool Kids Club or something like that. And I'm like, how the hell does John McAfee know who I am? I have been thinking about that all day, but that is cool. That is cool. Maybe I will run for president as his running mate. I'll be the vice presidential candidate under John McAfee. It'll kind of be like Penn and Teller. Like I'll just play the straight man and just not talk. It's funny that he's keying off on the Bitcoin stuff. Cryptocurrencies. I did a piece about this. I don't know if it was last week or this week, but this is going to get to be more important. And the first round where the price went up to 20,000, that was a big speculative bubble. And I don't think this is a bubble anymore. I think this is the real deal. And I think that, there might come a time where, I'm not going to do this tonight, but we might want to take this more seriously and really talk about the merits of why anybody, a normal person, not some kind of technical guru or computer whiz or financial libertarian guy, why a normal person would want to own Bitcoin. Now, of course, there was a bunch of normal people that owned it 2 years ago, and they all got torched. But, this is kind of how things work. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it. And it's actually, one of the things I discovered about it, there's probably one of the most common search terms. Just people type in Google, how do I buy Bitcoin? And you will get answers. And the good news is that it's actually pretty straightforward. Even a caveman can do it. So easy a caveman can do it. So let's just talk about the concept of risk. A lot of people have misunderstandings about risk. A lot of people are very poor at evaluating risk. They have no concept of risk. And to have a concept of risk, you do need to have some facility with numbers. You do need to be a little bit of a mathematician. And this is kind of why some people are bad at risk. They're unable to determine which threats are real and which threats are fake. So I can tell you what a real threat is. A real threat is every time you get in your car, there is a pretty good chance that you are going to die. I am not, as usual, I am not making this up. Cars are very dangerous. They're about half as dangerous as they were 30 years ago, but they are very dangerous. And the more miles you drive, the more you expose yourself to that risk. And everybody drives pretty much every day on the way to work. And every time you get on the roads, when I say a pretty good chance, I mean it's a measurable probability. It is not like getting struck by lightning. It is way more common than getting struck by lightning. It is very common. We lose about 35,000 people a year on the highways. The risk of dying in a car is super, super high. It's higher than that, the risk of dying in an overdose. And there are a lot more people that die in drug overdoses than die in cars. And dying in a car crash is already super common. And dying in an overdose is massively common. And just to put this in perspective, you know how many people are dying from overdoses? So many people are dying from overdoses that our country's life expectancy is going down. Like, because of science, usually life expectancy goes up over time. And if you looked at developed countries around the world, Europe, Japan, Asia, stuff like that, life expectancy continues to go up. In the United States, which is the richest country in the world, our life expectancy is going down, and it's because of drug overdoses. It is insane. Now, you are not going to randomly die of a drug overdose. I mean, obviously, if you don't take drugs, you won't die of a drug overdose. All I'm saying is that the frequency of that event is pretty high. But the biggest risk you face on a daily basis is getting in a car. And you know what's funny? And this is where people get everything wrong. They get absolutely everything wrong. So you have these parents who are like paranoid about child molesters, stranger danger, right? And they won't let their kids walk to school. They won't let their kids walk to school because it's too dangerous, because somebody might leap out of the bushes and grab their kid. You know what's more dangerous? Putting the kid in a car and driving them to school is like 1,000 times more dangerous. That's 1,000 times more dangerous. I can tell you how many children are kidnapped by strangers, by complete strangers, in the United States every year. 115, which is way less than the number of people who are struck by lightning. And you think the chance of getting struck by lightning is pretty remote. And it is. And I'm telling you, the number of children that are kidnapped by strangers, that doesn't include family members, different story, kidnapped by strangers in one of these stranger danger events, 115 in the whole country in the whole year. It's an incredibly small probability. So people fear that. That is the worst thing of all time. So they take their children and they put them in a car and expose them to much more risk on the way to school. There is a much higher probability that your child will die in the car on the way to school than if they are kidnapped by a stranger. It is thousands of times more likely. So a lot of times we think big risks are small. So dying in a car crash, that's a big risk. We think it's small. And we think small risks are big, like getting kidnapped. That is a very small risk, but we think it's big. Another one that falls into that category, shark bites. Getting bitten by a shark. You know, most of the locals in Myrtle Beach, North Carolina, around this area, there's sharks around here. There's a couple shark bites every year, like 2 or 3. And a lot of the locals just don't go to the beach. Like, they just won't go to the beach. And if you ask them, hey, why don't you go to the beach? They're like, sharks. They won't go to the beach because of sharks. And the probability of getting bitten by a shark is less than the probability of getting kidnapped, which is less than the probability of getting struck by lightning. And since there are sharks, people will not go to the beach. The human brain is completely unequipped to deal with randomness and chance and probability. And I think it's sort of like my curse in life to understand the math behind these events and to take, these risks with a giant grain of salt. By the way, I knew the risks about owning a motorcycle, and I still got one. And I had it for about 3 or 4 years, and I had a bunch of not a bunch, I had 2 or 3 close calls in the motorcycle, and I said, that's it. Nope, not doing it. By the way, riding on a motorcycle is about 10 times more dangerous than riding in a car, which is already super dangerous. It's way more dangerous. Motorcyclists get killed all the time. We're talking about risk. We'll be back in a few seconds. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.